So I had a bit of trouble getting this video made. I've been having a lot of issues with trying to get my audio to sound at least better than it has been sounding, and I just could not figure out what I even wanted this video to be about. This is actually the third script and the third topic change, so I guess third time's the charm? Here's hoping anyway. Hey there, it's Pixie back again with the drawing and the storytelling, except I don't actually have a story for this video. But I mean, that's probably okay. You know, it's good to switch it up sometimes. Like I said before, I did have a couple of other ideas, but they didn't really pan out. And since this is now being recorded for September, currently all I really want to talk or think about is spooky stuff. I mean, it's basically spooky season, right? However, I'd rather keep my ghost stories for October's video. And so instead I figured I'd talk about webcomic stuff. I've been working on this project for about a year now, and I found a few decent resources that have helped me quite a bit. And I figured sharing them in a video might help other people who could also be wanting to create a webcomic and aren't really sure where to start. There will be absolutely no gatekeeping on this channel. So before I fully get into it, I guess I'll probably take a minute and talk about what I'm drawing here. As usual, I'm just drawing some of the characters from the comic, mostly just for some practice. This will actually be the first art that I'll be posting with my characters Nick and Martha. And of course Jamie is in there too, because why not? She was actually the first character I created for the comic, and I just really like drawing her a lot. So yeah, just a quick fun piece of them setting up a video camera in a haunted school or something, I guess. I don't want to say the name of the webcomic yet. I'm not really sure why, I just kind of want to keep that secret. But the main premise of the webcomic is basically there's this group of paranormal investigators who move to this super haunted town, and they're trying to figure out why exactly it's so haunted. I absolutely love horror. It's been my favorite genre for pretty much forever. Especially, you know, the supernatural brand of horror, so I absolutely adore ghosts and ghost stories and haunted houses and stuff. Just, that's all super fun for me. Anyway, now this isn't the first time I've decided to write and draw a comic. I mean, I've always wanted to write stuff, comics, novels, really bad fan fiction, you name it. I have so many stories that I've started and just given up on partway through. Though that's probably mostly because I would get impatient and just skip all of the steps and go right into drawing and writing full pages. I'm talking no planning, like what even is that? No script or thumbnails, I don't need any of that stuff, right? Yeah, no, then I'd wonder why I lost interest so quickly. I think it's just teenage me was enthralled with the idea of an already finished story, and I didn't want to put in any of the actual work to get there. But writing is hard. Writing is absolutely hard work, and it takes a lot of work. No matter what medium you use to tell a story, like whether it be writing, drawing, painting, video games, there are steps that you have to take to craft your story into something someone will want to read or watch or play or what have you. And unfortunately, a lot of those steps can be very overwhelming or just plain boring. Like, luckily for me, I've actually been able to find some ways to make it fun, but it is still very, very tedious. This actually all started after I found the Starfish Face, who is a VTuber here on YouTube. And through watching her videos, I found that she has a webcomic, and I decided to check it out and ended up binging the whole thing in like a couple of days. It's called Cast Off, and it's a fantasy adventure story with magic and mystery and all sorts of cool stuff. It's definitely in my top 5 favorite webcomics, and I highly recommend it. It's so good. And so yeah, reading Cast Off made me want to create my own webcomic. And as it turns out, the Starfish Face also has a book called How to Webcomic. And I figured, well, she must know what she's talking about, right? I mean, Cast Off just recently celebrated its 9th anniversary. She's on chapter 12 now. It's amazing. So yeah, I ended up buying the book. I think I got the ebook version of it. It's actually on my phone still. But it's a fantastic book. It's been a great resource. It's taught me a lot. And it's super fun to read. It's really well written and very easy to understand. So I also highly recommend that book, especially if you're thinking of starting your own webcomic. This video's not sponsored by her. I just think she's super cool, and I really like her comic, so I want to recommend all her stuff. You know, I like to support other artists over here. But yeah, so I'll put the links to Cast Off and her store in the description if you want to check them out. The next thing I started working on was developing my characters. Now, I don't think it really matters too much which step you do first. I mean, you could figure out the setting, the plot, you could start building a whole new world. Really, it's just so long as you're planning. The most important thing to do is to plan out the different parts of the story before you actually write the story. For me personally, the easiest part is always, and always has been, creating characters. I love creating characters. I'll create characters for like my favorite TV shows, my favorite books. I mean, we were all teenage weeaboos, weren't we? We all had the OC phase. But yeah, so I found a character profile online with about 100 or so questions to answer, and I did that for my main cast, which was about 8 characters. It took me a while, took a couple of months, maybe longer, I'm not certain. It was not always the most exciting. I mean, I'd put it down and come back to it later. I procrastinated a lot on those profiles. But answering those questions also ended up generating a near constant flow of ideas, and the story started writing itself. I wasn't even done writing Jamie's profile out, and I had already figured out at least part of the main conflict, and I pretty much knew how the whole story was going to end. I still know how the story is going to end. That's a pretty important part to come up with anyway, but that's what the character profiles helps me do. Even if a lot of what you write ends up changing or even being fully cut out of your story, getting to know your characters will help with the creative flow. They'll tell you how the story is going to go. They'll tell you how they interact in it. So yeah, I'll leave the link to the character profile that I used in the description as well. Though you don't have to use the specific one, I just like the variety of questions it has. But you can go to Google and pretty much just type in character profile questions, and you'll get boatloads of answers. It'll be fine. Now, I'm not really all that far into writing the comic. I mean, I've written out all the character profiles in a couple of notebooks, and, well, I mean, I also like to keep handwritten notes in there as well. I just like to be able to have the notebooks close by if I need to reference the profiles. To me, it feels a little bit easier than sifting through a bunch of different computer files. I'm also handwriting the super basic rough draft of the story, which is pretty much just the outline of how the story is going to go. I'm handwriting it because that helps me to remember that it's just a rough draft and it doesn't even have to make sense yet. For me, pen equals messy. And messy means I can kind of sort of try to ignore the perfectionism. Maybe. The script itself gets the computer treatment. I mean, I feel like at that point it has to start getting good, right? If we're writing how the characters are interacting and stuff. And so far the prologue is fully written and has actually gone through its first edit. Just a couple of thousand more edits and it should be good to go to the thumbnail stage. I'm also partway through the first draft of Chapter 1, which is also fantastic. I mean, really, it's kind of wild to me that I'm making this kind of progress, especially with the fact that I'm actually following the steps, and that just goes to show how good planning everything out and taking it step by step can be. If nothing else, it's at least helping you keep your sanity through this whole crazy planning stage. And I'm still super excited about this. Again, I have yet to, I've had my doubts. I have had my doubts about whether this is going to even be readable or postable, to be perfectly honest. But I'm excited about it, and I haven't lost interest yet. That actually brings to mind something that Starra said in her book, How to Webcomic, and that's to be your comic's biggest fan. And I agree completely. I mean, I'm writing something that I want to read. I want to read a comic about ghosts and ghost hunting. So I'm going to write that story myself. And that's what you should be doing. But yeah, I'll definitely be keeping you updated on how the webcomic is going and whatnot. And yeah, that's some of the things that I've found and learned that's helped me in making my webcomic. And maybe it'll help someone else who's not sure where to start in the world of webcomics. Creating stories is hard, but it can be so much fun at the same time. So if you want to draw comics, absolutely do the thing. If you want to make video games, do the thing. If you want to, I don't know, do animations, do the thing. Just remember to take it step by step and don't burn yourself out over it. Your health is the most important thing, and I mean you can't work on stuff that you want to work on if you're not healthy. So take care of yourselves. I also want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope it's been at least kind of maybe a little bit informative, and I hope the audio is better too. Again, I've been working on ways to improve my videos, mainly making the audio sound at least a little bit clearer. I've started learning all the different Audacity settings and stuff, learning how noise gate works. And I've also actually been redoing my video sprites, so the little character of myself that pops up every once in a while. My art style has improved quite a bit since I actually finished making that first batch, and so they no longer match. My style doesn't match the sprites, and I don't really like them anymore. So the new ones should be showing up in videos soon. Yay! Anyway, thanks again for hanging out. Let me know in the comments what your favorite webcomic is. Or if you're writing one too, we can all be webcomic buddies. I hope to see you all again later. Bye for now.